As the housing shortage has affected millions across the entire country, 10 housing records were set in 2021. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting couple of articles for you today. So these two articles are actually going over the housing shortage throughout the entire country. And, the funny thing is the housing shortage, it didn't just start recently. Yeah, the coronavirus pandemic, it actually exacerbated the issue. But the truth of the matter is that after the previous recession back in 2008, they never ramped up house building up to the levels that it was before. So, there's been shortages ever since then. And we've seen just crazy price inflation. And, it's been pretty good for real estate investors, but not so good for those who are looking to buy their first home because, prices are just going up, and it doesn't seem like they're going to stop. But before I get into the two articles, go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below, and let me know what you think, okay? Are you, do you think that there's any potential way for this shortage of housing to end aside from just building millions and millions of new units? I mean, honestly, I don't see the builders coming out there and starting to build like they used to. I mean, they used to just build huge subdivisions for those who were around, looking at housing back in the mid 2000s, just huge numbers of homes they used to build. And they just haven't been building like that since then, really. So, I just don't believe it's possible that we're going to go back to, builders building like that and, get the employment back in those construction businesses like it used to be. So the first article comes from Deseret.com, and it says, the West's housing crunch began over a decade ago. Here's why. And let's get into it and see what they say about the topic. As Western states, including Utah, Idaho, Arizona, and Nevada, cap off 2 years of record-breaking home sales and price increases, it's important to note the West's housing crunch began long before the COVID-19 pandemic threw the national housing market into upheaval. That's because the entire U.S., and especially burgeoning Western states, has been facing a housing shortage for over a decade now after home building contracted in 2009 amid the Great Recession. The housing market has been struggling to keep up with demand since the 2010s, when the number of new homes built was slashed in half compared with the previous decade, Forbes wrote. As the demand for residential real estate has increased, the scarcity of homes for sale has created a logjam on the supply side. Yeah, and it's the truth of the matter, okay? So yeah, the number of houses they're building now, it is not sufficient for the population growth that the country is going through. Even with all of the pandemic stuff that it really hurt things and made things worse, they were already going through just a complete slowdown as compared to the past. And I think a lot of builders are playing it safe because they're worried. They don't want to be caught, in a bad situation again, especially after the Great Recession. A lot of builders went under. They're gone. They're never coming back. And a lot of the people who were in construction before, they just don't do construction anymore. I know for a fact that, the Great Recession was more awful than a lot of people even realize. And yeah, this is the end result of it. So yeah, we're going to have a very difficult time ramping up construction, ramping up home building in order to meet the needs of the population. And I just don't see it happening right now. Now, what I do see happening is, and this is the only alternative solution, multifamily is going to be huge, okay? So they're going to keep building apartment complexes, keep building these huge, rent to what do they call those constructions? Build to rent, single family subdivisions. And, these things are profitable. And that will enable people to have housing, but unfortunately, a lot of people won't be owning the housing when this happens. So, yeah, it's kind of a bad situation, but hey, it's better than nothing, and it leaves a lot of opportunity out there for real estate investors. The U.S. is now short 5.24 million homes, according to recent research by Realtor.com. That gap between single-family home constructions and household formations is up from a shortage of 3.84 million homes at the beginning of 2019. Home building hasn't kept pace with population growth. In 2020 and the first half of 2021, the U.S. saw 2.1 million household formations, resulting in a total of 12.3 million household formations between 2012 and June 2021, according to Realtor.com. In that time period, only 7 million single-family homes were built and completed. Yeah, not nearly enough. So yeah, bad situation overall. But let's dive into the second article that I have, and it's quite interesting because there were 10 records set through 2021 when it comes to housing. And, it has to do with the same housing shortage and issues that we're facing right now. So this one's coming from globestreet.com, and it says, here are 10 housing records set in 2021. Okay, and let's see what they are. I'm not going to read the first little paragraph here, but I'm going to get straight into this list and see if I agree with them or not. Record number 1. The typical U.S. home sold for nearly $400,000. The national median home sale price hit is an all-time high and up 24.4% year over year. So yeah, the median home price went up 24.4% in 1 year. That is insane. Okay, but that goes back to there being a housing shortage, and that's driving up the cost of the median homes. So yeah, keep in mind that this is for the entire country. So this price is very high for like where I live here in Omaha, Nebraska. The price might be 100,000 or even a little bit more than 100,000 less than that. But when you consider the fact that in places like California, the median home price can be 800, 900,000 plus in some areas. Yeah, well, it all balances out, okay? And this is still a very, very high median home price. Record 2, home supply dropped to historic levels. The U.S. is in a housing supply shortage because of a lack of new construction. Surging demand from buyers and homeowners taking advantage of low mortgage rates to refinance rather than sell. So yeah, we're in a supply shortage right now. They're not building enough housing due to the supply chain issues, due to people just not working in as not many as people working into construction as used to, and that means that just basically it's becoming a disaster. Okay, this is a disaster for housing throughout the country. Record number 3, the typical home sold in just 15 days. The typical home that sold in both June and July was on the market for just 15 days. That's the lowest median days on market in history, and down from 39 days in June 2020. Yeah, we can't really compare anything to June 2020 because, as you know, that was the middle of the pandemic and there were a lot of people still on lockdown, still holed up in their homes, and they weren't buying. But we can compare it to like 2019 and all that, right? And this is the lowest time on market in history, 15 days. So if you don't jump when you're, jump on the property you see the first day it's listed, you're not going to win, okay? It's just going to be sold before you even have an opportunity to buy it. Record number 4, over 60% of homes off the market in 2 weeks. Some 61.4% of homes that went under contract in March had an accepted offer within 2 weeks of hitting the market. Yeah, that means the grand majority of homes that you see they're sold like that. Okay, so back in the past, I know I used to look at some of the older listings, but et cetera, but usually that stuff is either overpriced or it's some weird property that nobody wants, or it has just terrible pictures. Sometimes that would be it. But, if you look on Realtor.com or Zillow or any of the open public sites right now, you'll see that there's very, very few listings available. Record number 5. More than half of homes sold above list price. Homes selling above list price is typically due to bidding wars, which were commonplace this year. Yeah, if you want to buy a house, you're going to be fighting for it. That means you're going to be paying more than the asking price for it. And I sold a couple of properties in Arizona at the end of last year, and I'm trying to remember how much it was. I think I got $55,000 over my asking price. And I was elated. I was so happy. I mean, it was crazy just how much I got over the asking price. And, I had over a dozen offers, and I got to pick and choose, which one was the best. That's how good it is out there in Arizona, especially. Record number 6, mortgage rates dropped to 2.65%. The average 30-year fixed mortgage rate hit 2.65% the week ending January 7th, 2021, the lowest of all time. Insanely low mortgage rates have caused people to, actually go out there and try to buy homes, but there's not a lot of inventory available. So what are they supposed to do? Record 7, investors purchased nearly 1 in 5 of all homes bought in the U.S. Many individual home buyers have found it tough to compete with investors. Hey, I am an investor, okay? So I don't mind, but hey, if I am able to come up with a better deal as part of my offer than a person who wants to live in the property as a principal residence, that's too bad, okay? I mean, I have to compete with them. They have to compete with me. It's always been that way. I've always been competing with, people who are using the home as their primary residence. It's no big deal, but now it looks like 20% of homes throughout the entire country are being sold to investors like me. Record 8, demand for second homes nearly doubled from pre-pandemic. Demand for vacation homes soared as remote work took hold in mid-2020, leaving many affluent white-collar workers with the ability to work from beach houses and ski chalets. Yeah, that's another factor that is leading to the housing shortage. People are buying second homes so that they can, stay there or whatever, and that it makes perfect sense. Record 9, nearly 1/3 of Americans look to move to a different metro area. Remote workers moving to relatively affordable areas in search of larger homes, more outdoor space, and sunny weather. Well, I think a lot of people are also looking to move to different metropolitan areas because they're trying to escape COVID restrictions. I mean, for real, I'm not joking here. There's a good reason why people want to leave if, their local government is locking them down and forcing them to vaccinate and forcing them to wear a mask, and they don't want to do it. So they're going to be like, hey, screw this. I'm moving to Florida, okay? Goodbye, New York. Goodbye, California. Texas and Florida are looking pretty nice right now. Record number 10, the typical luxury home sold for 25% more than the year before. The median sale price of U.S. luxury homes jumped 25.8% this year over year to $1,025,000 in the second quarter of 2021, marking record price growth. There are more people now who are in the market for these luxury homes because interest rates are so low and they can finally afford them. But I don't know anything about that. I don't have a luxury home. But yeah, 10 interesting records that were broken. But the truth of the matter is this housing shortage throughout the country is disastrous. And, something has to be done. I don't know what to do. I'm an investor. I'm just bringing you the news. I don't know exactly what can be done to really help the situation.